Hello and welcome to Connect to Love here on PRN-FM, where each week is an incredible exploration into the many facets of our connection to love, oneness, and the human spirit. I'm Lisa LeRose, and I'm joined by the amazing Michael J. Russ. I want to say hello, Michael. It is always incredibly fantastic to have you join me.
Thank you. It is always not only a treasure to be with you, but it's a pleasure to me because I get to sit and explore with you for an hour some topics that are always top of mind, yet sometimes with the busy week, you don't have time to delve into them to the extent that we do in the show. So it's really, really, really awesome that we have this time. And welcome to our guests on PRN-FM. I understand from what you were telling me that we are expanding our reach, which is really, really, really wonderful. A lot of wonderful people coming on to listen and in turn also check out our podcasts from all over the world. And I'd like to say hello to you. We really appreciate your attendance to this podcast and really are so grateful that you take the time to listen, and hopefully you're finding something really awesome, some treasure that you can enrich your life with. And we realize that not everything's going to resonate with you, but you know what? Just listen for what does, and then just run with that. That's how you get things done. That's how you evolve, is simply to take what from the table, the smorgasbord, the feast, what it is that can nourish you, and then, be happy, be well, be fun, and have a good time. Life is meant to be fun. So that's what we're here to help you do. Have a loving life and a fun life.
Oh, yeah, thank you, Michael. That's such a beautiful blessing of gratitude. And I'm equally grateful to everybody who makes the time to tune in. It's just such an honor and a pleasure to be able to share our insights with you each week. And I'm just very grateful. And oftentimes, when we're done with the show, and I know you're sort of the same, Michael, you kind of go on with your day. And so I like to listen to them, and I like to reflect, and I like to hear the words that I believe we channel a lot of times that come through. I think, wow, I didn't remember saying that. And as I was sort of reflecting, I was looking at the last two episodes that we did, one being charting your course with love, and the other was trusting the inner compass. And I started to really think about the vessel, because I did hear myself say that I referred to myself as a vessel and that we were the captain of our own soul. And as I started thinking about that, and this is one of your areas of expertise, I started thinking, well, being the captain of your own soul, it really aligns with the concept of the sovereign self, and that in that place, many of us are taught from a young age that we need to be a good person, a good friend, a good partner, employee, child, whatever it is, and say yes to everything. And sometimes when we do that, we sort of sacrifice little bits of pieces because we put other people's needs first. And that is absolutely fine as long as there is a balance. But other times it can leave us exhausted and depleted and sometimes even resentful. We're coming into the holiday season, and there is going to be less and less time for you as an individual. And sometimes you have to have a boundary and be able to be loving enough to say, no, that I need to protect this vessel, this particular vessel that I reside in, that this is my place of sovereignty, and I need to respect the energy and the peace within. And I thought it would be a fun topic to explore because oftentimes there's a lot of challenges. We feel guilty when we stop doing what we think that we should be doing, and rather recognizing that there is a sacred act in loving kindness towards ourselves as well as the person that we are working with. So, yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts on it, Michael, because it's a big topic.
Yeah, it is. One that I embrace fully every single day. I recognize that I have a partner, 22 years plus, And I set aside time to be together with her. And she recognizes that I have a very full plate of a lot of different things. Um, so it's three things came to mind when you were talking about this during the introduction, and I was like furiously writing. The first is self-care, self-wellness, because when we do for others, there are those of us that are of service to others. We feel one of our missions in life is to be of service to others. And that's all well and good. However, you have to, as you said, know when to say no. You have to know when to be of service to yourself first and understand that you are a soul that has requirements. You have interests. You have passions. You have things that excite you. And when you participate in those things that may not be in alignment with what other people want you to do, you have to say yes to your own fun and excitement and desires. And the way it's instead of saying no, and I'm just like, I would rather state things as preferences. It's like, no, I don't want to do that. No, that's not really the way it's not that you don't want to do it. It's that you prefer to do something else. And when you're talking with people, right, you can either state your wants and needs as preferences or desires, even better, right? I desire to do this instead. I prefer something different today. I'll catch up with you another time. And if your friends or family don't respect your wishes for sovereignty and understanding that you need to take some time, you desire to take some time for yourself for self-care, regenerate your batteries, or to just participate in something, again, that is fun and exciting for you, that also regenerates your batteries, because it's not all about just downtime. You can regenerate your batteries by engaging in something that is of extreme pleasure to you. And you deserve to do that and set aside time to do that. So I like to say things as preferences instead of I don't want to do this. No, I don't. Because that can be a little bit harsh to people. They may not understand because they may not be on the level that you are. Right? So it's a lot easier to say, listen to your gut. Listen to your heart. Listen to your body. What is your body telling you? What are your feelings telling you about when someone's asking you to go do something? And there are times for me when I just crave just sitting down with a glass of wine and vegging out on a movie that I really enjoy. And or I don't really watch sports. However, there are times when I just want to sit down and watch a team play sports. When I want to watch, baseball game or basketball. I don't want to watch basketball, but a football game or a soccer game. More importantly, I love soccer. I just don't take the time to really set aside to watch it. It's not a priority. It's not high enough on the priority list where I have to say, okay, that game's from 1 to 3. I've got to plan my day around that game. Well, no, of course not. I do not plan my day around other people's joys and passions because they're their joys and passions. I have passions I share with my girlfriend, and we go do those things together. We'll go play golf on one day out of the week, and maybe other time of the week I want to go play by myself, and she respects that because I have another mission in mind. I want to focus. It's my time to just chill out and work on my game, or just take my mind off of the work that I'm doing, the things that I'm writing, the things that I've created for myself, the other passions that I have. So it's interesting knowing when to say no, knowing that when you have a purpose, one of your purposes is to be of service to others, that you make sure that you don't overbook yourself. And as you said, take time for yourself. Put yourself first at the top of the list in terms of service, because as someone brighter than me once said, you're no good to anybody else unless you're good to yourself. And that's the axiom I kind of roll with. I know when I'm biting off more than I can chew. And I've known this since I was in college. And everybody say, "Oh, let's go out. You're gonna be out till like 4 o'clock in the morning." And I'm going, "Well, not today." I would say, "Yeah, go without me. I'm good." And they would just have to go without me. And if your friends don't understand that, your family doesn't understand that, then you're right. It's not something you get guilty about. You feel guilty about. You have to understand and be proud of the fact that you are putting yourself first and not burning yourself out, or just recognizing when you want to commune with your higher self. This takes me into something very interesting because the interview I was watching yesterday, listening to actually when I was driving on, we had a very interesting. There was a very interesting point made by a ascended master, and that was the word desire. I might have mentioned this on our last show, but the word desire is not a selfish word. It's not an egoic word. It's really aligned with your true purpose. When you say I desire, it has to do. It's all closely tied with manifesting your goals, your dreams, your desires. Interesting. And I'm starting to use that word a little more in the last day since I heard that. And simply saying, what do I desire today? And one of our other guests, Donna Bell, had said, my angels want me to start asking myself, what do I desire?
Mm-hmm.
What do I desire? What do I desire? Not what do I desire with somebody else, the perfect relationship or the perfect this or that, perfect business. What do I desire for me to make me happy?
You're absolutely right. We don't think about it.
Right? Ask yourself that question. A lot of times we just don't do it. We don't ask ourselves. We don't even think about it. We're so wrapped up in doing for others or obligations we've created for ourselves that may not be completely and totally aligned with what makes us happy right here, right now, without any further, with no baggage. Just, hey, what would you like to do? Take a walk. Put your tennis shoes on and go take a walk in the forest or around the neighborhood or wherever it might be, because communing with nature is a good thing. Or taking off your shoes and running through the grass in the park to ground yourself. That may be what you need. And recognizing that and dedicating time to doing that and being grateful that you have the opportunity to to make those kinds of decisions and just reveling in the fact that you're doing it. To me, it could be that simple. It really could be that simple. Sitting down and closing your eyes and relaxing. I have a cat that always loves to hang out with me, and when I come out of my meditation, it's out like a light, snoring. I mean, it's pretty darn amazing. But it's the cutest thing. She's all balled up with her arms over her eyes, like a little human being who's sleeping, and doesn't want the light to bother their eyes. It's really kind of funny, but I take joy in playing with the corgi, or putting a leash on and taking a walk around the neighborhood. Sometimes 10 o'clock at night. I just love it looking at this. Oh, by the way, I must tell you, I saw my second shooting star in 2 months last night
Oh, fantastic.
during our
How
walk.
exciting.
And and
Magical.
I have to tell you, yeah, it is magical, mystical. The first one I saw was I had to really I saw it streak across the sky, and it was like a really high elevation. This one last night, because I love my walks in the evenings, quiet, and there's no cars, there's no people, there's no nothing going on. There's really very very little noise. And on a clear night, you can just look up and see Cygnus, and in the wintertime, you can see late in the night, you can see the Pleiades and all these others. But I was sitting there and I looked up to my left and I saw something streaking across the sky, and my mind told me, oh, that's a plane. It was bright enough to be a plane flying across the sky at a low altitude. but it was going so fast. I quickly said to myself, "Oh my gosh, that's not a plane. That's then it just burned out. But it was just came straight across the sky, like parallel to the ground, and then just burned out. But it was so bright, so bright. And I said, that is amazing. A low altitude shooting star. Just, these are the kind of things that make life really a joy to, to, to be a part of. And such a wonderful journey because when you engage in something that you love to do and then you get some kind of special magic that goes along with it, that's the icing on the cake, so to speak, for me. Icing
It
on the
is,
cake.
it's probably a message from your guides saying, we're here, we're
Yep.
with you.
We're hanging. There you
And the
go.
light is
Yeah.
always here.
Invariably.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
sometimes
It's
that's
it's
exactly
so
how it
true.
flies
So true. You're
by.
in the right place, doing the right thing. Don't worry. Everything's working out the way you want it to. Don't worry. Be
Yeah,
happy.
then it's a really good reminder to listen to that inner guidance that you hear. I always think about Oprah Winfrey when she said that every mistake that she ever made in her life was ignoring the small voices, that inner guide, that intuition. And when she was able to recognize that, as I have been, I that's what I said. Those last shows have really made me reflect, and I thought to myself,
Hmm.
boundaries for me is probably one of my hardest lessons in life. And was thinking about it this morning as I was walking, and I thought maybe it had to do with because I was always the new kid, and so I was the new kid in school, and I wanted to be liked, so I wanted to please everybody. And
Been there,
then
done that.
that
Hmm.
was
I
what
agree.
defined, yeah, that was really what defined my world in my early years. And it was
Hmm.
not easy for me as I grew older to give to myself, to put myself first. And
Hmm.
I I've been learning. And so as you said, I really like how you framed it, that there is a loving way to say no. Just if you make it
Hmm.
sound like I love you. I can't take
Hmm.
on that commitment
Yeah.
right now. I need to pause this conversation. Whatever it is, it's that loving boundary is articulating the truth of whatever state that you need at that time. And,
Yeah.
you know, we speak a lot about Bashar and Wayne Dyer, a lot of the different people that we read, Sarah Landon, and she talked a lot about energetic discernment, choosing what resonates with your highest frequency, and then creating the boundaries of love and alignment. And then when you do that, even as you were taking that walk, Michael, that is something that you do for yourself. It's a time of quiet. I oftentimes people ask me why I do things, and I say, "But it's my time." Like there's certain places in my day, because I go from morning until very late at night, and I have these pockets that are just for me, and I'm not looking to fill them with
Mhm.
anything else. And you have to know when to allow yourself that grace and teach people how you want to be treated. So if you need that
Mhm.
space, you have to say, what, I need to go for a walk. I need to clear my head. For me, with the walks in the park, it's sort of like you under the stars. I'm nurturing my soul. I was looking at the sky last night with the moon. We had a crazy rainstorm, and I thought I wasn't going to be able to see the moon. And then, sure enough, it popped out in the clouds, and it was just sort of the way they wrapped around the moon. And I thought, wow, it
Oh
became
yeah.
like a big heart. It's wrapping it in love, and the
Mhm.
leaves are changing, and just the smells and everything else. I mean, they're all little things, as you say. They're the moments of appreciation that help us elevate and grow as a human being. And
Yeah.
I
True.
love the idea of being able to express ourselves always from that place of love and knowing that claiming your sovereignty doesn't mean exclusion. It can come from a very, very loving place.
Mhm.
Sort of,
Yeah. Recognition.
mhm, yeah.
I agree. Recognizing that um you want to do for you for however long that may be, whatever period of time. It's really interesting because I thought of something else when you were talking with, communicating with others, communicating your desire to focus on your sovereignty to other people, because they're not going to understand. Not everybody understands when they just know they want you to be with them. They like you, they love you, you're their best friend or whatever, and you're the shoulder they cry on, and you're the one they come to when they have issues, whatever. And there are times when their needs, their need to have you around them, your shoulder to cry on, may not be the right time for you, right? And so you say, how do you handle that? Well, number one, and never apologize for your own sovereignty. That's not something you apologize for. That's something you revel in. And you help others to understand that time for you. You set the tone, so to speak. That when you're there, and I thought of something because I really desire to do something else. I hope you'll understand. This is not a commentary about you. This is about me. And again, I hope you'll understand. We can get together, in a few hours from now, or, let's talk later. See, the urgency that people have, it generally it's their urgency based on the way that they're feeling and what, how quickly they want to connect with somebody else if they're feeling off, out of harmony, right? Out of balance. And I have a very good friend who happens to be one for the last 3 years, one of those people who sees me as perhaps a mentor or something else, and can call me at odd times when I'm in the middle of something, generally. And when he does, I very simply say to him, I'm doing this right about now. I'll connect with you later. And he respectfully says, okay, not a problem. Now, so whatever he thought was important at the time and needed to really share with me, if I was in the middle of something, I just lovingly let him know that it's not the right time. Or he called me when I was in California. I said, I'm with my mother until Sunday, which means I'm not going to be talking to anybody else about anything else. My focus, my attention is right here on my mother, and I'm spending every, moment I can with her. And when I'm with her, I'm with her. I'm not with somebody else. I'm not talking on the phone to somebody else. I'm not texting all over the place. I am with her. And she knows I'm here because her attention is fractured. And I want to make sure that when she's, here, she's looking at me and she's seeing me, not me doing something else. So
Right.
he's nice enough. But I've had to, over the years, I've had to help him understand that that there are boundaries to the relationship. And that's something that we always lovingly want to make others aware of, is that there are boundaries. And you simply let people know when they're when they're imposing on your situation. You don't use the word imposing, obviously, but I'm saying that as an example of when you're recharging your batteries, you're engaged in something that is fun for you and exciting and you're passionate about, that energy, that flow, that connection you have with that moment must remain for you to, keep that state. And disrupting it with somebody else's issues or problems or challenges, I look at it this way. Everybody has challenges because those challenges help them evolve and transform. And again, we said this yesterday. I said yesterday, and probably in a couple other shows, life doesn't happen to you, but people believe that things happen to them. And they get into the 3D elements of it. The lower start thinking about how this happened, why that happened, and they start extrapolating out all these possibilities of what could happen based on what did happen. And wow, it's just all of a sudden this little thing is blown into a huge issue. Right? And really, sometimes the best thing is for them to sit and stew on what it is, what's going on, and let them get through that emotional point. because you and I both know, and we've said many times, it's almost impossible to connect with somebody in a meaningful way who is in knee deep in the weeds of negativity. If they're in a highly emotional state, they're not going to hear what you're saying because they don't want to hear what you're saying. Really, what they want to do is they want to explode. They want to off gas. They want to let you know what they're feeling and what's going on, and they're not really into seeing the challenge as an observer. They're into being in the midst of it, in the midst of the drama. And so I'm saying all this because it's about setting aside time for yourself, making sure that you're being of service to yourself first, so that you have the energy, the attention, the frequency, those higher frequencies to share with other people. And it's also about knowing when to covet your frequencies and expand them so that you can be of service to others who may feel that they need you. And I mean, I hope that makes sense, but it's a double-edged sword. You got to make sure you're taking care of you, but you also have to make sure that other people know when you're doing so that you're doing so, and that doesn't mean you're being with somebody else. You're not fracturing your time, because then that
Right.
doesn't help you, right? It doesn't help you at all. And so the boundary aspect of it is really, really, really so important. And it's unique because I must say this: I've had several friends over the years who have literally told me, I'm learning boundaries now. I'm no longer allowing this person or that person to dictate when they have my attention and my focus. Because that's the way it can become. If you allow other people, anytime they're having a dramatic issue or the challenge in their life where they're right there at your doorstep and they need to talk with you now, you know, if you allow that to continue, then they believe that's the way it is. And literally, our issues are there for us so that we can shift our perceptions about them, so that we can pivot away from them, so we pivot out of the negative emotions that we experience. It's a learning opportunity, right? They're learning opportunities. Yeah. So anyway,
And
I
I'm
just needed to say
glad
that.
we brought that up, Michael, because when you have healthy boundaries that are rooted in clarity and compassion, and you're very clear about your needs, as you were when your friend called while you were with the time with your mother. What's so beautiful about that story is you knew what you needed. You needed to be fully present with your mother in that time, and you didn't want to be distracted. Had that individual not respected you and your boundaries and your need to be fully present, you would probably never pick up his phone call again when he called, because you would have felt resentful. It would actually cause the opposite. It would create a disconnection. And so that, I believe, is how sovereignty and being fully sovereign invites us to know that love is there, that a boundary, when it's honored, actually brings you closer to the place that you want to be, to that peacefulness, that love, that connection. And it is sometimes difficult. I've always been very empathic. I've never wanted to hurt anybody's feelings. And so sometimes if I was sort of guilted into something that I didn't really want to do, I I would feel a little bit resentful after. I would go and I would, just most of the time enjoy myself, whatever. But there were other things that I really wanted to do or should have done. And if there were things that I should be doing instead, I'd come back after the event and have to make up for the time lost, and I wouldn't have much sleep. And it was not self-loving at all. And you
Right.
don't, like, the time that you are sharing with your mother or your girlfriend or whomever you choose to be in that space with, because it is your sovereign right to choose how you want to share your time, that time you never get it back. There's a wonderful woman whose YouTube channel I absolutely adore. Her name is Heather Ogilvy. And Heather often shares a beautiful reminder that we only have so many heartbeats. And she asks the question, how do you want to spend those heartbeats? And when I started
Mm-hmm.
hearing her say that, I thought, that's so true. We wake up in the morning and we don't know if we're going to have another day. So every moment is precious. And I certainly don't want to fill it with anything other than love. And I think that that goes back to, Don Miguel Ruiz in the Four Agreements, be impeccable with your word. Your word to yourself is the
Mm-hmm.
foundation.
Yeah.
It
Paramount.
aligns with our own truth, and we have to honor that.
Mm-hmm.
I have quoted that book. I love that book. I've given so many copies away of that book. If you haven't read it to any of our audience members, please do. It's absolutely an
Yeah,
amazing
it's really
book.
fantastic. It's simple, it's basic, but it's a life lesson in a book that is portrayed, conveyed, I should say, in a way that is very loving. Very, very loving the way that it's conveyed. And something came up. It's interesting because when you started talking about disruptions and things, it made me think of the fact that you and I grew up in a time where we didn't give permission to people we didn't know to connect with us, to interrupt us in our time. And now we live in a day and age where there are three generations that have grown up in the digital age, and digital disruptions are a huge factor. We all carry around these little pocket computers and that we call smartphones. And digital disruptions like notifications and calls and texts from people we either know or don't know, they are disruptive of our time with ourselves. When we're thinking about being of service to ourselves, the thing I'd love to convey to our audience is that it if you're engaging in self-care, self-wellness, you're putting aside time for yourself. Make sure that you turn off or turn silent and put in some other room your digital device so that you can have the continuity of time with no disruption. And this is important. This is important because I'm gonna tell you, I was on my plane. One of the connections I had on my plane flight back from L.A., the longest one, the one to Los Angeles, was I was sitting next to a young man. It couldn't have been more than 30, 31, and or maybe his late 20s even. And the entire flight, from the moment he sat down to the moment that we landed, his arms were straight out in front of him with a phone at the end, right into his lap. Imagine, straight armed out, holding the phone up, and his right thumb was simply scrolling the entire time. That was 3 hours and no, that was 4 hours and 25 minutes. That flight was. And he just
Wow.
went from one thing to another, one thing to another, one thing to YouTube, to this, to that, to this. And, I'm like, wow. He was connected to Wi-Fi on the plane, so he had access to absolutely everything. Instagram, and then YouTube, and then this, and then that. Well, he could not stop doing that. He couldn't stop scrolling. He couldn't close his eyes
Hmm.
and relax for 4.25 hours. It's the most amazing thing. And that's never happened to me before. And he had earbuds in. He must have been listening to something at the same time. But I'm sitting there saying, nothing wrong with that if that's what he prefers to do. I just found it amazing and I didn't expect any conversation. I never do. If it comes up, it comes up. But I found it absolutely amazing. He didn't drink anything. He didn't eat anything. He just did. That phone was in his hands the whole time. And that made me think about the idea that the phones can be an addiction, and they are for many people, and they don't want to be without them, right? I mean, that's just a fact of life. If you're tied to it, sort of emotionally. And so when you're thinking about self-care, digital detoxes has to be high up on the list
Right.
because
And I think that
we
I was
have it.
going to say, no, I was going to say, I think that's why the cafes are popping up where you go in and you deposit your phone so that people can learn to reconnect with other human beings. And
It's wonderful.
I know it sounds
They have those
funny,
where you
but
are.
we don't, but I've seen them in Europe. I think that they're fantastic. And there's restaurants where you actually deposit your phone in the center of the table so that you can carry on a conversation with the people that you're with. I was at a restaurant the other day, and it's the same thing, no judgment, but there was a family with a husband and a little girl. She was probably no more than 3 or 4 with her dad, and the mother had her phone and was scrolling through every for the whole meal. The only time she didn't was when her food came, and I thought she's missing out on this beautiful man that loves her and this child, and she's never going to get that time back again. And again, no judgment, but
Mm-hmm.
it kind of hurt my heart a little bit because
It's
I
an observation,
felt
right?
for the little girl. I really did. I was like,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know, it there's nothing when you're to be fully present, and this I think again has to do with the boundaries. And again, I maybe this is my observation, but if I were in the shoes of the husband, I would probably have asked, "Do you he, can we have a conversation?" Because
Mm-hmm.
basically, in a nutshell, she was saying, "What is on my phone is more interesting than you are." That was the
And more
subconscious
important,
of what
yeah,
I ate,
and
and more
yeah,
important. And I think you
than
have
you and
to,
my daughter.
and
And I'm
again,
talking.
it's setting that boundary that people, if you want somebody to connect, truly connect with the real you, you have to be honest. And that honesty in a relationship, now they may be totally fine with that, and that's wonderful. But perhaps they don't have good relational boundaries where they can say, I've worked all day, I haven't seen you, I would really love to share some time with you. As you said,
Right.
your
Mm-hmm.
your time, you do a lot of things during the day, you have a lot of obligations, including the show, which I'm grateful you make the time for, but your time with your girlfriend or your dog is your time. And that's
Yeah.
setting that boundary, and it's okay to have those boundaries. And sometimes we have to give others permission to set their own loving boundaries because they've never
True.
been able to do that as well.
That's true. It does happen. Again, no judgment. It's just observation. And the interesting thing is that um, children who I find that I come across in the restaurants that we go to, where the first thing that happens is they give the child the phone and put a movie on it, or they've got some kind of game or whatever. Doesn't really teach that child how to behave in public without that they use the babysitting device basically. And we must really take a look at the responsibility that we've given to ourselves to raise another being, and how what we do impacts that being later on. Because when that being becomes a teenager, male or female, they may decide that what they want to do is what they want to do, whether that be something that is not in alignment with honesty and integrity, and you've got no connection with them. You've got not enough of a connection so that they trust you and what you say and understand it. That's the other thing we don't think about. 10 years down the line, 12 years down the line, when they're off doing their own thing, uh, you have no connection to be able to set help them understand moral standards that of behavior and conduct and that sort of thing. We just don't know who your own child is. And I know my sister, my girlfriend's grandkids, they didn't get any devices. I think when her granddaughter turned 15, she got a phone, but she's not allowed to be on social media. She got a phone for emergency purposes, and she can be on the internet or whatever, looking up information, this and that, but no social media. She's not allowed. And the other two kids don't have cell phones. They have to find things to do in and around the house, and that is the way that we grew up. But nowadays, we have what these devices do is they give people we do not know the right to interrupt us whenever they want through unsolicited texts, unsolicited emails, all this. It's just like boom, they constantly come. And if you don't turn off the device, you're getting pings all the time. And so I find the best thing from it's interesting because I tell somebody my phone is on silent all the time. I never turn the volume on unless somebody's going to text me, like you. I'll say, text me when you're ready. We're going to do the show. I'll turn the volume on so I hear it. However, it's never on. I'm going like, you know what? I control this device. It doesn't control me. And this is really the whole idea about what we're talking about, even away from digital. It's like, do you control your own life or do you let other people dictate what you should be doing and when you should be doing it? When instead of you saying, "Hey, it's my ship. I'm the captain. I'm at the helm, and I'll decide where my ship goes." That's really the way it is. Now, there are people in the world. I understand this. We've got listeners who are have family obligations and things of that nature because cultures dictate that family comes first. However, you can carve out a little bit of time for yourself. And really what you want to do is make sure that you are doing that you're carving out some time for yourself and that you recognize what's fun and exciting for you and seeking to participate in that no matter how infinitesimal you think that thing is. If it brings you joy, you want to be doing it to help bring balance and harmony to your life and to every other aspect of your life, because those wonderful feelings of joy and fun and excitement and passion, they spill over into every other area of your life and they make it worth living, worth doing.
Yep.
And they also, they help other people, other people can sense them, share them, can be influenced by them. And that's,
Yeah.
that's just the joy of it.
I love that point, Michael, because I think it's really a great discernment, and it's kind of a paradox that we struggle with because boundaries are not walls of separation. When you set a boundary, it is saying, I need to practice self-love. I need to respect and honor the truth of who I am. It's going back to that sovereignty, the authenticity, and being able to practice the sacred art of loving kindness for ourselves. And when we do that, we're doing it for other people as well. And there is a vulnerability in that as well. As you said before, we don't want to be judged. We don't want to be judged for any decision that we made. But then again, I always go back to, it's none of my business what other people think about me. That if I am doing something, I'm valuing myself more than somebody doesn't value me, I guess is how I'm trying to phrase it, then at
Yeah.
least I'm making healthier choices. And the
Right.
people that truly love me understand what my needs are. There is no resentment. They understand
Right.
that for me to fill my cup or to fill my bowl of rice, as you so eloquently
Mm-hmm.
say,
Yeah.
I need to, there's certain needs that I have. And whether it's taking a detox bath, which it's sometime the other night I was not feeling well. And so I sat in that tub for 2 hours. There was lots of things that I could have done in 2 hours and I had to keep putting more hot water in and warming it up. And I didn't have my phone on. I didn't listen to anything. I actually fell asleep for a little while,
I
but
love that. That's
but
fantastic.
it was, I got out of there and I felt energized and I didn't feel out of balance anymore. It was what I needed. And normally I could do it for half an hour, but nope, I was like 2 hours. I just want to be in that water. I don't want to move from it. And it was so self-nurturing and it's so self-loving, and I was so grateful that I made the time to do that. So I know.
I think it's fabulous. You're my hero with the tub. You're my hero with the tub. I've got two beautiful tubs here, and I keep saying I'm going to use them. It was a little hot here this summer. That didn't really appeal to me. However, I love in the winter um, to sit. One of the tubs has a actual television with Roku on it, sitting right there on the wall, specifically so that I can watch um, a movie of my choice while I'm just sitting in the tub, or I just sit there, and just chill. I do. There are some. I have some favorite shows that I really would love to just sit and watch by myself, and I that's an opportunity for me to kill two birds with one stone, so to speak. Not
Plant
necessarily
two
wanting
trees
to
with
kill
one
birds, but
shovel, that's what I always say.
yeah, there we go. Sorry, one. Yeah, fell two trees. Now I don't want to do that either. I don't want to cut down trees.
Plant two
I don't want
trees with
to.
one shovel. Yeah.
Okay, there you go. All right, plant two trees with one shovel. Okay, sorry about the inference about killing cats. That's not
Sorry
my.
about
It's a colloquialism that one of those things from 50 years ago that just won't just refuses to go away. Um, I'm learning though. Thank you very much for the alternative. I appreciate that very much. Yeah, put a little rice in your own bowl. Make sure you do that. We all have obligations to others, including little furry creatures and those that are feathered friends and furry friends. It's listen. It's there, right? It's we do. And here's the interesting thing, because I you adopt animals yourself, and I really applaud you for that. I did. I've done it twice, but we've done it twice. But we we have to be we have to understand that we don't if we all having furry creatures is awesome, or feathered creatures is absolutely amazing, but we have to understand that there are responsibilities that come along with that. And the thing that I find very interesting is when parents get puppies for their kids when they're too young to understand that there's a responsibility involved, and then they find out it makes the child happy, it makes them smile. However, the responsibility that goes along with it can really impact your boundaries. It can impact your boundaries. So we have to think twice about bringing another living being into the household, because it's everybody's responsibility to take care of it. Because I know of people there are many pets in this world that end up in a shelter, good pets, because the child lost interest and the parent didn't have enough time to take care of them. And it's better. I mean, I realize this is it's not a judgment thing again. It's just an observation of what I see, because I have a gal two doors down from me that works in a pet, what would you call it? Pet animal rescue. She works in an animal rescue nonprofit. She works a couple, 2, 3 days a week, and she tells me all the time. And she brings pregnant cats and dogs home with her to foster them. And it's just when she tells me what she sees, I just shake my head. I said, I don't even understand how that happens. Yet I do kind of understand, because people are under an obligation to, in some ways, make their child happy, because they're feeling guilty. They don't have enough time to spend with them, and they want them to be happy and experience something. And I would rather, my parents have told me, no, no pets. There's an obligation that goes along with a dog or a cat or whatever. We grew up with guinea pigs and hamsters, and we had a dachshund that traveled the world with us to Taiwan and the Philippines.
Fun.
Oh yeah, we took that little dog. That little dog that spent 21 days on a ship with us, on the top of the ship in the kennel, and brought it back to Colorado Springs. And then we took it to New York. So we went to Turkey for 3 years, and we left it with the family that rented our house. So we asked them if they could keep him. They loved the dog, and they kept this dog for 3 years while we were in Turkey. And when we came back from Turkey, we went back to Colorado, and we picked up our dog and we brought it to New York. And we were in New York a year, but halfway through, we discovered that the this wonderful loving dachshund was really didn't like to be home alone anymore for 10 minutes and started ripping things up and acting out. And it was at that particular point when we knew we were going to go to California that we searched out a man or woman who was housebound or retired and who wanted a loving pet, and we found a wonderful man who wanted a loving, mature dog, and we introduced the two of them, and they hit it off, and basically we said, "Here, this Tico's yours." He was so grateful, and we left Tico with him. And somebody had said, "I saw this man walking your dog down the street. He was so happy, and the dog was so happy." And I said, "Yeah." We made sure that we found another home for him, that somebody who could be there for him, because we were getting older, right? And we were in and out and doing things, and our parents too. So it's recognizing that. But there are obligations, there are boundaries that we have to draw with. We have to understand that if we want to maintain our boundaries, sometimes this is what I'm saying, that we have to be careful of the decisions that we're making, and make sure that we're taking into account ourselves as well as the animal that we're looking to bring into the household. So
Right, and I think that's all about that sovereign heart setting loving boundaries. You knew that sometimes, and you can't apologize for recognizing that that dog had other needs, and your family had other needs, and sometimes the most loving thing you can do is say, you know what, uh, this animal would have a better home. I I do a lot of rescue, and sometimes animals will come to me and I'll only have them for a short time. There was one dog that came and I absolutely fell in love with this dog, and I happened to have an electrician come in, and the electrician absolutely loved the dog, and as much as I
hmm
didn't want to give up the dog, I already had a lot, and they were such a good match, and so I knew that the dog would have a good life. And so
exactly.
yeah, I made that choice. And I think that that's part of recognizing I will always have animals in life. I don't know what I would have done if I was in your family, because I was the kid who brought home every stray animal and said, "Oh, Mom," and
Yeah, please.
we only grew up with one cat. We only grew up with one cat and one dog, but I certainly made up for it when I got older.
Yeah,
But and I
exactly.
try to do a lot of education, and I just actually got another cat spayed last night, and so she's
hmm
convalescing. She's a feral outside, and she's very food motivated. And I placed one cat in a home, and so I do the best that I can. But that's
hmm
part of what nurtures my soul, is working with
Right.
animals. And I know, as far as a boundary, that I couldn't be in a relationship with somebody that didn't like animals and that didn't
Right. Because it brings you joy.
appreciate. Well, yeah, because
Right.
it does. It brings
hmm
me a lot of joy to be able to help those that can't speak for themselves. And
hmm
yeah,
Yeah.
it's an adventure, and I don't ever look at anything that I do as work. It's just part of who I am. And I
hmm
think that, for anybody, you have to sort of look at all the areas in your life. If you're feeling resentful about something, or somebody has violated one of your boundaries, you have to sort of take a that pause, that breath, and ask your heart, what would love do? And I ask myself that all the time. And if the most loving decision is that you need to practice self-love, then that's the path that you need to follow, and speak the truth
Right.
simply,
hmm
kindly, with
Yeah.
love.
Speak your truth
Just come from a
with
loving
love and
place.
kindness and empathy. Right.
And
I agree.
mhm.
Like 110%. You're so spot on. It's insane. That's just the way it is. It's a great topic for for today, though. It's to me it is, because it's such an important message and something that we all must understand is that we are all sovereign beings, and we are the ones who need to take controls of our life. And we need to make sure that we are maintaining a loving relationship with ourselves. And that entails a lot of different things, mainly all into the bucket of sovereignty. Making sure that we're controlling what's going into our mind and our bodies and our connection. We're managing the connection that we have with something greater than ourselves, and that we are making sure we're managing our thoughts, words, feelings, and actions and responses that we have to our life, and that we're establishing positive perceptions about ourselves, mainly things. And in self-care, that's definitely what you want, is to make sure, and you ask yourself, do I have positive perceptions about myself? How do I feel about myself? What do I think about myself? What language do I use to refer to myself with regard to the many things that I engage in? That's really where it starts. And I can always recognize, because I'm big into self-talk, about the inner conversation, that when someone is joking about themselves in a negative way, because let's be frank, the joke is just the disguise. It's the wrapping for the bad way you feel about yourself. When you're joking about yourself and you put yourself down in a humorous manner, it's you might think it's funny. Some other people may think it's funny, and it's a common thing in this world to make jokes about yourself. However, the joke just masks the fact that that's the way you really feel. So, in with respect to yourself, you got to make sure that you're treating yourself with kindness, that you're loving yourself, and not only participating in what it is that you love and that brings you joy and that excites you and that you're impassioned about, but you're also making sure that all the other little dots have a line up as well, and that is that you're having a loving conversation about yourself, that everything you're doing supports you and your self-care mission, which everyone should establish a self-care mission. Recognize what makes you feel good, do more of that, have more fun, do things that elicit that joy and that warm feeling inside, that excitement, and do less of the things that don't. You can do more of the things that do. The benefit to you is that more wonderful things will come to you. That's really the bottom line, is that you manifest great things with great feelings. That's when your frequencies are high, you're in a highly manifestational state. And flip side, if you're not feeling about yourself, you're putting yourself down, that's an endless loop of a feedback loop, where if you're wondering why your life isn't the way you want it to be, examine how you're referring to yourself, whether you're taking care of yourself, whether or not you're caring for yourself, loving of yourself. It's a dead giveaway that if your life isn't the way you want it to be, that you're not spending enough time taking care of you. Taking care of you. You've got to make sure you take care of you more than anything else, right?
So beautiful, Michael. Absolutely. And you've given me a lot to ponder after we're done with the show. I keep thinking to myself, boundaries aren't barriers, but bridges to deepen love. That's what I kept hearing
I
in my
love that.
mind as you were speaking, and I think that it's so important for all of us to embrace that sovereignty as self-mastery and cultivate, as you said, the authenticity and the respect for ourselves. That's where true love begins.
It is.
And
It is. When we work on ourselves, the world works itself out.
absolutely. Wow.
Love it. Love it.
Another amazing conversation.
Wonderful.
So thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much for the topic.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Yeah. Until next time, I will send you all peace, and love, and wishes that you tune into your sovereign heart and honor your truth and create space for deeper connection and, of course, love. And until next time, peace out.
And so it is.